Welcome to Team Talk. I'm delighted to have Paul Ryan here with me. Welcome, Paul.
Hiya, nice to see you, James.
Excellent. Now you might recognise Paul because I think you are a professional actor. You've been on the stage many a time, and I don't know. Maybe you been arrested on TV as well.
Arrested?
Have you been arrested?
I'm not sure if I have been arrested. Yes, I
Where
have.
where
I
where would
can tell
people
you.
have seen? Where will have people might recognise that lovely face?
Thank you very much indeed. Well, before I had the Botox, I was a lot more recognisable. Yes, I got arrested because I was a baddie in Grantchester, and I'd completely forgotten that. Thank you for reminding me. Where might people recognise my face? I'm not sure people necessarily will, but I played Nigel Farage on Brexit for Channel 4. It's called Brexit and Uncivil War, opposite Benedict Cumberbatch, which was a great thing to do. I recently did
Fantastic.
an episode of Ghosts. Again, all of this is without the beard, so I might look younger. I played Gramps in a lovely TV show for kids called Waffle the Wonder Dog, which, funnily enough, is where a lot of people
I remember
recognise
it
me.
with my kids. Yeah,
There you go, absolutely, and it's still on the telly. So I'm still, I wouldn't say I'm earning millions through repeat checks, but every now and again I get a nice little surprise and can take myself out for a breakfast at Weatherspoons on that one. And what else did I do? Oh yeah, I did a lovely thing called um, The Trial of Christine Keeler, which was again a lovely character part in a fantastic show on the BBC. And just quickly, just while we've got 45 minutes to talk about me, I was in
absolutely.
Mamma Mia. I was in Mamma Mia for a few years, so it might be that people came and might have seen me play Harry in that. So that's it. That's a potted version of my CV.
Fantastic. And there's actually two reasons why Paul is here today. One is I do want to take some learnings from you being an actor that
Yeah,
leaders and teams can take and benefit from. Um, and also, if you didn't know, the other thing that Paul focused on is something called Improve on You. He's a founder of a business that takes leaders, team members, and really makes them effective in terms of how they put their message across, both on and offline. So yeah, that's what
yeah,
Paul does when he's
yeah. I'd
not
just like to.
a
Can I
star.
just square up? Why am I an actor and a presentation skills person? Well,
Please,
part of the reason for that is that for the majority of actors, you've got to find what we call now a side hustle, which back in 1978, when I started, the actors used to call it how they earned their bread and butter money, because it's a notoriously difficult game. But I got into teaching presentation skills 22 years ago
right?
with a friend of mine who was starting up his own company. And it turns out that I had such a good time doing it that when I got into Mamma Mia, I had to stop. But I kind of thought when I finish, I'm going to set myself up and do it for myself because, like I said, I wanted to attach more learning and basically develop my own arm, which is what I've done. And like you said, I've thoroughly enjoyed helping people plan and prepare and then present so that they always speak at their best when it matters the most because it's quite nerve-wracking. It's still one of the most highly prized but most nerve-wracking parts of any job that people have to do if speaking in public is part of what they do. And I pride myself, James, on being able to bring a lot of fun but a lot of serious learning to help people speak at their best when it really does mean a lot to them that they do that.
Fantastic. You said when it matters most. Now, that's
Mm,
going to depend on the individual, of course, but
yeah.
what are the common themes that come through for leaders when they're coming to you in terms of that?
Right. It's really interesting that it's brilliant that you sort of pick me up on that when it matters the most. When does it matter most to the person that's watching this podcast? When does it matter most to you? And it tends to be moments of high importance, i.e., going in for a sales pitch. Well, that really matters. The stakes are high. When
Absolutely.
you're speaking, if you're giving internals, that's one requirement, isn't it? But when you're doing external talks, then the stakes tend to go much, much higher. And I have a phrase that when the stakes are high, the brain starts to fry. We start to lose control. We don't communicate as well as we normally do. And it's like, why? What can I do to put in place so that I do arrest my fight or flight, so that I am more in control of my anxieties, so that I speak as I would if I were in, the company of my friends in a pub, i.e., sober, but still able to be myself, be who I am. That's when we tend to communicate at our best. And when it matters most, that's up to you as an individual in the corporate world.
It's interesting you make that distinction between kind of inside and outside. One of the distinctions that sometimes the terms are used interchangeably, leadership and management. They are clearly very different things. One of the things for me that defines leadership, it's got
Yes.
nothing to do uh, with title or position. It's just the fact that people would follow you. Um, and part of that in any business might be having a vision or putting across a convincing argument, for
Yeah.
example. So that's absolutely key, isn't it? Any business.
Well, I think what you're hitting on there is so important, because if you've got something that you're passionate about, as a leader, you're going to want other people to be passionate about it too. And it's communicating your ideas with sufficient emotional connection so that you get other people as excited as you are. That, I think, is really vital. Because you might have the best idea in the world, but if you communicate it in a way that, so listen, I thought it'd be really brilliant if we got computers to sort of think for themselves, and then we garner an awful lot from that. I've called it artificial intelligence. It might work. Well, there's a
Sounds
difference
exciting,
between.
Paul.
Was that too exciting? Oh my God. Actually, funnily enough, I run an exercise which I call interesting boring. And you say, right,
Okay.
what I want you to do is I want you to give the first minute of your presentation like it's the most boring thing in the world. And actually, sometimes I have to rush around to people saying, no, too interesting, too interesting.
Oh, I
But
love it.
anyway, so I was trying to give you my version of delivering something boringly. But if you take your passion and you sew it to the same words, it's going to be much more engaging. And I think that's a key element to always bringing people on board, taking people with you.
Some people are very natural at that in terms of their style. Others, it's going to become harder. Are there any tips you'd give people that it's not their natural style to speak openly with conviction and passion?
I would say this, that, yes, some people are natural communicators. Other people, it's all a skill. It's like confidence is a skill, and you can learn it. And when we're more confident, we tend to speak more confidently with more passion. What tends to happen is our fight or flight stands in the way of us speaking as we normally would, speaking with pause, pitch, pace. We all speak with emotional connection to stuff we're enthusiastic about, but suddenly when we're in front of 200 people and we've got 17 slides to get through in 5 minutes, it suddenly isn't so good. So we start to lose inflection. We start to speak too quickly. We don't pause in the way that we normally would.
Yeah,
And all of those things stop us from sounding like somebody that's passionate and emotionally connected to what they're saying into a data spitter, somebody just spitting data. Now, I don't know if any of the people watching this podcast go networking, but for example, with the 60-second pitch, that has to be delivered in a way that grabs people's attention, because you're probably going to be in a room of 20, 30, sometimes 40 people, all being given 40 seconds, 60 seconds to do their thing. And the temptation is to throw in as much feature dumping, to throw
yeah,
in as many things that you and your company can do as quickly as possible so that people buy into what you've got on offer. Whereas actually, what I tend to suggest for people giving a 60-second pitch is use what I coined the 60-second ABC.
okay.
Simple as that.
Let's do it.
Audible. Let's do it, baby. All right, I tell you what. As we're, I'm going to get up. I'm going to jump to my chalkboard and listen, James. If you need to stage manage me, please do so. If the audience can't see me, let me know.
Absolutely,
Right.
my pleasure.
Now, all right, we're slightly on a wonk with the camera angle today, but this is what I call the ABC. Hopefully, your audience can see that. What is the 60-second ABC? Right. First of all, you have to be audible. If I'm not spelling anything right, my spelling's a bit bad. but audible.
Yep.
You have to make
Clear.
sure that you are heard. Because here's the thing, James. You might have the best message in the world, but if people can't, okay, you have to be able to make sure people can hear your message. Now, one of the great ways of making sure you will be heard is to open your mouth. I know that sounds strange, but what tends to happen when we get up, the pressure's on, we've got 60 seconds, we carry a lot of tension in our jaw. And that means that we're not using this fantastic sound box we've got in the front of our face called a cake hole. Yes, we tend to speak quietly. And for example, let's just do this quick exercise. Jane, I want you to stick the tip of your finger in between your teeth.
Okay.
All right, now take your finger out. Take your finger out. Oh, you've got a big finger there, mate. Just literally the tip of it, not all of it. Not all of it. Right? I want to make sure that you can see that I'll use a different pen. Ta, la, ba, na, ka. Can you see that, James?
I can. This is our warm up.
All right. So listen, what I want you to do is I want you to put the tip of your finger once again in between your teeth. Now take it out. And that is as much as you are allowed to open your mouth when you say the words ta, la, ba, na, ka. We're going to do that together, okay? Ta, la.
No.
Good. Thank you very much indeed. Jumping to the other camera. What you're doing in that way is replicating how most people tend to use their jaw when they speak in public because there's so much tension there. This time, take 3 fingers. Don't hurt yourself, right? And stick them in your cake hole like that. Go. Now take your finger out. Look at them. Look at that beautiful dentistry. Somebody's
as well, doesn't it? Added bonus.
Absolutely. But do it again for me, James, right? Now take your finger out. Now, seriously, that is your new jaw drop.
Right.
Say jaw drop for me.
Jaw drop.
No. You're going jaw drop. I want jaw drop. Really open your mouth to the fullness of those 3 fingers. Go again.
Jaw drop.
You're not doing it. Seriously, I'm gonna pester you. You're saying jaw drop. No, look. Jaw drop. Jaw. Do it now.
Jaw drop.
That's it. Remember, put the fingers in, 3 fingers. Now take them out. And now say jaw drop. Really?
Jaw drop.
Good, better. Right, now we're going to do Tala Banaka with a full and beautiful jaw drop. Are you ready? I'll do it with you. And ta, la, ta, la, ta, wee. Can you hear the difference that makes?
Absolutely. Now, I guess the other thing is doing it like that, obviously it's an exercise, it does feel unnatural as well.
Completely unnatural. Totally unnatural. But I don't want you to go out there and say, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. No, I don't want that. But what I do want is I want your audience to consider warming up the jaw before they go in front of their audience. And a very simple way to do this, you take the heel of your hand. I'll do it for you because I don't mind looking ugly and silly, but you're so handsome. I don't want you to look daft like me unless you want to join me. Let me do it first. You massage the jaw. Oh my God, that feels it's so relaxing.
Oh,
great way of getting your attention.
Massage your jaw.
Right. And then you take a nice in breath. And while you massage, when you exhale, you make an R sound. I'll go first. You've got to pull down the jaw when you do it. Watch me, James. And oh. Can you see how I pulled? Oh, and they don't pull down the jaw. Let's do it together. Ready? And oh. Pull down the jaw, pull the heels of the head. Okay, look at the video. Watch me. I'll do it one more time.
I'll watch you.
Oh, opening that jaw, exhaling, it relaxes you. But it means that when you stand up in front of your audience, instead of being like a ukulele, like a small sound box, you've actually got a lot of movement in the jaw. And that means that when you speak, you're much more likely to be heard. Because what I heard from you, James, when we did the beautiful jaw drop version of Tala Banarkar was that you created a lot more sound, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Brilliant. That is A for audible. B. What does B stand for? I'll write it in the other pen because it's not quite clear there. Brief. How can you be brief if you're just using the same 60 seconds? Well, here's how I think you can do it. Strip out half of your content. That's my guess. Because in a 60-second pitch, people cram too much in. They cram in too much stuff. Mention one feature. Yeah, or just basically look at your 60-second pitch, and I reckon you'll probably have, if you're rushing to get through your content, you've got enough for 2 different 60-second pitches. And what's the benefit of that? The benefit of that is that the next time people hear you speak in a networking meeting, you're not saying the same thing. You're saying different content that's still relevant to your company. Audible, brief, and committed. Committed. Let me just hop up there and write that down. Committed. Say it like you mean it. You're committed. Committed. It's very easy to use big, powerful wow words like exciting. I'm hugely excited to be here. We've got some fantastic developments. You might not have heard this, but if you're not going to say it like you mean it, if you've saddled yourself with so much content that you're rushing to get through it, you're never going to sound like you're committed. Try this. Watch this for a second. See how I get on. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous progress, or to take arm to get to see of trouble and by opposing end them. Boom. Now, I'm not suggesting people will get up and speak that quickly, but a lot of people get up and speak really rapidly. My volume how's my volume, James? Yeah, volume was good. It was down. It was down.
Yeah.
This is an example of what is not good. What about my tone?
Very flat.
Flat, absolutely. Now, what about my facial expression? Did I look relaxed?
Yeah, you were just
I didn't. I looked like I was crapping
a
myself.
machine.
Exactly. Spitting it out. And here's the big thing. The meaning gets lost. Do you agree with that, James? Yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. You struggle to keep up with it.
The meaning gets lost because you can't keep up with it because I'm forcing you to listen in a hurry. Now, how about I take my time and I say to be or not to be? That is the question. Whether it is, and all of a sudden, there's a difference. Strip out half your content. Give yourself time to say it like you mean it. And also, well, say it with a smile. But that is basically my networking ABC. Audible, brief, committed. The less you have to say, the more time within that 60 seconds you've got to say it. And with a nice jaw drop, when you've got used to doing that and used to doing that funny thing, you will be heard. If your audience can't hear, and this is pertinent whether you're delivering at a networking meeting or you're delivering. If your audience can't hear you, you've got about 11 seconds before their brain just turns off. Because the brain works at optimum use of its energy. Yes, optimum performance.
Yeah.
And if it's using too much energy just to hear what you're saying, it'll stop after about 11 seconds. And then you're sitting in front of an audience who are struggling to concentrate. And that's not going to help you. So that is one great way of being audible. Next question, dear boy. See, you ask me a question and I don't stop talking. You're having a lovely time. What's the next question?
Oh, fantastic. Yes, there's a couple of things that you mentioned earlier on. So, first of all, confidence is a skill. Tell us a bit more about your perspective on that.
Okay, confidence is a skill. What tends to happen is there's something called the Yerkes-Dodson's law. Okay, don't ask me how it's spelt because I don't know. Yerkes-Dodson's law. It says something like a small amount of stress will sharpen your performance. Too much stress will destroy it.
Yep.
Okay, so that's really interesting, isn't it? So what tend to be stressful situations? Well, our fight or flight will kick in when not us, it's not a conscious decision, it's a subconscious thing going on. Your reptilian brain, called so because it was developed before we were actually in human form. Here's an amazing thought that a part of every newborn baby is 500 million years old. Isn't that incredible? And that
Amazing.
it's the fight or flight.
Right.
Fight or flight. So it kicks in when it, not our prefrontal cortex, when it identifies a situation where it can't identify the outcome, like a job interview, like getting up to give you a 60-second pitch, like speaking in public. We can't tell that it's going to go well. So what happens then is you go into fight or flight. It goes, wait a second, we might not be safe, and bang, everything kicks in. You get a hit of cortisol, flushes the blood away from your viscera. That gives you butterflies. Hit of adrenaline makes your heart beat faster, doesn't it? And suddenly, we're taking lots and lots of short, shallow breaths to fill the blood that's moved from our viscera to our legs and our arms with oxygen so that we can run like hell or fight like crazy. At the same time, blood flushes away from our prefrontal cortex, making it difficult to make decisions, making it difficult to keep hold of our thinking. A lot of people talk to me about a loss of focus. Yeah. And all this happens because we've gone into low-level fight or flight. Now, how do you stand in front of all those things and take control of them? Well, one of the big things is posture. One of the big things is making sure, fight or flight. If we're sitting in a fight or flight posture, for example, before we have to get up, we're often hunched. Our chin might be down. We could be locking and blocking. Yeah, all of these things. And we can also project.
I'm making sure that I'm sitting up straighter as you're talking.
Good boy. But we also project negativity. A fight or flight response is to catastrophize. It might go wrong. I might forget my stuff. What if I go up there and trip up? What if I don't know the answer to the question? All of these things are going to feed us viewing ourselves as having a lack of confidence.
So a young Paul Ryan, you're on you're backstage.
Yeah.
You feel like this because it's not uncommon for a lot of actors to feel really nervous and have stage fright, is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you do?
Okay, so stage fright is something quite separate. That is a massive problem. If you're getting stage fright, that's something else. If you've got nerves, if you're going on for your first night, they say that walking on stage in a first night, in your first performance of the show, is equal to getting into a car crash or moving house. The stress on the body is that immense. Okay, I ain't going to give it all away, James. Some of your people are going to have to come and phone me up and be
Absolutely.
But if I were to give
us a
you,
teaser.
I'll give you a teaser. One thing I would do to calm myself and to anchor myself is something called squeezing the lemon, which is very difficult to do online because from this studio I actually do run training. My third camera isn't up. How do we possibly do it? All right, let's just. I'm going to get the other camera. Hang on.
Okay.
All right. So all you need to know is that it's called squeezing the lemon. In theatre terms, we call it pulling up. Can you see what happened when I pulled up there? Squeezing the lemon. Right, viewers. I want you to imagine. In fact, I can stand here because you don't need that. I want you to imagine that you've got a lemon between your buttocks. Yes, I said buttocks. And when I clap my hands, I want you to squeeze it. Okay, I want you to stand up for this. So let's try this. If you're up standing now, so you're standing straight, it's nice and tall without overdoing it. I'm going to ask you to squeeze your lemon now. Hi! Oh, beautiful. Now, you should feel even more grounded, even more rooted. Yes, without being locked. Okay, you should be able to, at any stage, if ever you need a boost of grit, determination, courage, squeeze your lemon. And that will tip your pelvis forward. It will strengthen your legs, but it will also insist upon your body that you will be able to take deeper, long-lasting, more nourishing breaths that will calm you, that will energize you, and that will keep you focused. So I'll tell you a little story here. It's a great question that you asked. And listen, that thing, squeezing your lemon, I absolutely swear by it. If you squeeze your butt cheeks at the right time of day every day, It'll change the course of your life. Now, that sounds like BS, I know. But here's a story. Going back, James, to what you said about stage fright. I was in Mamma Mia, and after I'm playing Harry. Who played, what's the name of the actor that played Harry? I can't remember. He's very handsome anyway, just like me. And on stage, every night, I would sing a song, Our Last Summer. Okay. And at the end of my first year, I was asked by the management, would I like to stay? And of course, I really wanted to stay, but what they didn't know was that every night when I was singing, I can still recall our last, they didn't know that I was getting stage fright thoughts. Wait a second. Where did I put my wallet? What did I do with my wallet? I need my wallet to get home because it's got my travel card in it. Do you know what I mean? And that thought absolutely invaded my head. And I was in front of 1,200 people singing a song. Oh, and I came off. And the first time this happened, I thought, God, Bennett, that was horrible. But you know, not to worry.
So
Next night,
it can hit
I
you any
go on.
time, people. Literally
There's
in the
no
middle of.
explanation for why it might get you. I think it might have happened because of familiarity with my content. I've been in the show a year. Look, that's a theory, but there's no reason why it strikes or when. It's like people who get panic attacks. You can try and understand when and why, but really there's no necessary trigger. So anyway, right, I go on the next night and I'm thinking I can still record. I go, what to do with my watch? Never mind your watch. You put your watch with your wallet in your sock. Look, it doesn't matter about that. And every night, basically, I'm getting more and more of these completely irrelevant thoughts about where did I put my wallet, my watch. It was completely ridiculous, irrelevant thoughts. That eventually that turned into full-blown stage fright. And it was horrible because you can't concentrate, you lose sleep, it gets worse and worse. And oddly enough, James, it was just for that moment in that song. The rest of the show, I was perfectly fine. Anyway, they want me to stay, but I'm having a crisis with stage fright, and I'm not sure if I can actually stay. It's that bad. And then one night I thought, hang on a second, hang on a minute. Put into practice what you teach for others. And just before that scene, bang, I squeezed my lemon. It grounded me, and I was able to go on and cope. I coped with the moment. I had a strategy that meant I could cope. And I squeezed my lemon every night, not just for 1 extra year, but for 2. So I got 2 years extra work, 2 years extra money, 2 years extra fun, because I squeezed my butt cheek at the right time of day every day. So I
That's
want your
600 lemons.
It's an awful lot of lemons, I tell you, an awful
Absolutely.
lot. But think about this. If every day do you have a difficulty, a dilemma, a nasty surprise, something you've got to deal with you don't want to deal with. If in doubt, squeeze your lemon. You can't squeeze your lemon sitting down, and you can't walk about squeezing your lemon because you look very, very odd. But as a stillness, if you're on the phone, you can squeeze your lemon. If you're having a one-to-one conversation with somebody, you can squeeze your lemon. It'll enrich your voice. It will make you feel more grounded. And actually, it will give you more control in the moment. So you're likely to have a lovely little mini win. Bang. That's on Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Wow. A week of mini wins. How's that going to make you feel? That's a month. That's a year. That's 10 years' time. I wouldn't be talking to you now, James, if I hadn't squeezed my lemon 12 years ago when I started off Improve on You. Because I was scared to death. I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know how to market. Didn't know how to cold call. Didn't know anything. But every day I'd make sure, if in doubt, squeeze your lemon. And it gave me just enough to cope and move forward. There.
Not just talking, singing as well. Thank you for
Yes,
that.
singing as well. How about that? West End performer.
I've got one other, a different angle now, looking at it from because as an actor, you will have been
Yeah.
under various different directors. So
Yeah.
what do good directors do that good leaders and managers can learn from in terms of organising and getting their team to do stuff?
Yes, that's a great question. I've always been very lucky in as much as I've always got on with my directors, and I've always had directors who've been really nice. You hear stories of people who are tyrants, who just command and control and basically scare the death out of the people that they're hoping to work with. The best directors out of all the good ones I've worked with they have the ability to be themselves in front of their cast. They're not
Right.
putting anything on. They're not adopting a persona. They're not playing high status. They're being who they are. They're working. I can only tell you, based on the question you've asked me, how I respond. And that tends to be best when people treat me as an equal, although you understand their status. Do you know what I mean? So, for
Yeah.
example, I've become good friends with a lot of my directors, but when we're in the working environment, the friendship takes slight second place, and you basically know when to say you're the boss because they have that ability as well to slightly move from the utter personable um, uh, atmosphere that they're creating to suddenly going, right, look, I really need you to do this, and being direct, being honest, being clear, giving you the reason why they want you to do what they want you to do. You can have a discussion, but ultimately they make it clear, and they indicate to you when they're shifting into a slightly more official capacity.
Right.
Now, whether or not that's right for people in the corporate world, I don't know, but that's the answer that I can offer you to the question
Have you
you've
ever
given me.
worked with somebody who's kind of brand new into directing?
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
without giving any names, 'cause it's not about shaming, but it is about learning from mistakes and hindsight. What we do here. Um,
Hmm.
what what did they not get right that would have made the difference? That some of the better
Well,
directors
look,
to work with.
it's really interesting because when you're new to anything, what you don't have is the backup of your own experience. You can be a great director at drama school, for example, if you're studying to be a director, but actually working with real actors is a different kettle of fish. It's like learning how to drive to pass your test and then getting behind the wheel and being amongst all the other people who've been driving for 20 years. Mistakes, I don't, again, look, I don't think I've seen young directors coming in making mistakes. Not really. I mean, the great thing about acting, broadly speaking, is that it's a very supportive working network. And
Yeah,
everybody wants one thing to be the best it possibly can, and that is the show. So you, as one of the cogs in the machine, you want to do your very best for the script, for the overall production. So it's very easy to to stand behind a director and do as you're asked, and then also make suggestions. It might be simple things like timetabling. It's very easy. If you're not careful, you can rehearse Act One to death and forget about Act Two. So sometimes it will just simply be timetabling issues, but you can always talk. You know, in the world of theatre, there's an opportunity, particularly in repertory theatre or provincial theatre. There's less formality. There's more chance to sit in the pub and say, "Hey, listen, you know that scene in Act Two, I could really do with a bit more. I need a bit more time on that. I'm feeling very strong in that bit, but that bit needs a bit of a look at." Notes. If people aren't very good at giving notes, you could suggest quietly, you can be a bit more gentle in the way that you offer your criticism. But again, look, to be honest with you, for the most part, I actually don't have an answer to that question. I'm searching to find things to give you as an answer because the young directors I've worked with have been nervous. All right, they're young. But what
yeah,
they're given is compassion by the people that they're working with so that they thrive and so that they grow.
yeah. One of the reasons I asked is that a lot of new leaders believe they have to have all of the answers.
Ah, yeah,
So that was
yeah.
one of the things behind it.
It's really interesting. And I think you said this to me maybe a couple of years ago about this. And it's a great release when you go, actually, I don't have to have all the answers. How freeing. When I'm running
Yeah,
workshops, um, and I think James Vincent is big on this as well, the idea that, look, you got some of the answers, but you won't have all of them. They'll have the answers. And
absolutely.
that's a great thing to say. Great question. What do you think the answer is? And they'll know, they'll have the answer. So it's a great fallback, actually. But yes, and when you say that to your clients about you don't have to have the answer, what's their response?
Well, they they will listen to it logically first of all and understand it and get it. But their default emotional position might take some time to catch up.
Sure.
Generally, I find.
I can understand why that would be the case. But when it clicks, for all those listening who it might not have clicked yet, actually trust that idea. that we don't have to have all the answers. There's a great deal of power and a lot of status to be achieved by being open and consultative and showing your vulnerability, actually.
Yeah.
Whenever I run a workshop, uh, I always make little mistakes. I never know all the answers. And I make mistakes because I keep pushing. No workshop is ever the same. And I'll come up with new ideas. And sometimes I'll fall flat on my face. It doesn't mean it wasn't worth the endeavor. It doesn't mean that the people in front of me have lost confidence in me, because I'll move on as quickly as I can to something else that I know is strong. But yeah, carving at the cold face of your creativity, it will always, it'll push you out your comfort zone, but it'll always yield really interesting results. And I think show your vulnerability, which will humanize you. And in that way, shorten the distance between your role and the person you are and your team.
Absolutely. Just very quick. This is a sort of quick fire question because that's a word I'm hearing a lot of lately, and that's resilience. What's your
Resilient,
resilience? What's your if I say that word, what does it mean to you? Where did it take
resilience to me, yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it was with James Burke at his event in Birmingham, and he talked about resilience, pushing through. You need resilience, don't you? You need strength, you need courage. Strength, courage, and perseverance and persistence, I think, all make up resilience. What persistence? What's the word? Remind me the word.
resilient? Resilient.
Exactly, resilience. Because it's hard. It's hard as an actor. And people say, "Oh, you got to get used to rejection." Yeah, it's fine. It's not just not getting one job. It's having the resilience to wait for the next really good opportunity and pushing your heart and soul into making that self-tape, because actors tend to self-tape now. We'll record ourselves delivering the audition. It takes a lot of resilience to keep the faith, to keep wanting to do your best when you haven't had anything for 1 or 2 years. Loads of actors out there at the moment, myself included, I haven't worked for quite some time. Now, how do I keep my spirits up? Well, by pushing myself into every self-tape that comes in and making sure I do my best. Resilience is its own reward. I'm still here. I started in 1978. I played the Artful Dodger in Oliver in the West End, and I did an interview for a local paper. They asked me questions, but they also asked the director of Oliver, the associate director, what can Paul expect from the business? He said, Paul can expect good times and bad. There's going to be emotional highs and lows, and it's putting yourself in the middle so that you can cope all the time. Well, sometimes I don't think I cope very well. I get very upset about not acting. But by the same token, if you can hold on to the fact that, you've still got what you had, and one day someone will want to use that, then you know that you can keep going. And look, this isn't the first time I've been through a couple of years unemployed. It's been over the years, how long have I been doing it? 45, something like that years? There have been some really hard times. And in those times, a lot of people don't survive. They have to get another job. Well, Improve on You has only ever been a lifestyle business, a side hustle to keep me in the game. Now, I'm lucky because I absolutely love the work I do and the people I meet with Improve on You. Presentation skills, confidence building, exec coaching. I love it all. But it's there to keep me ready for when the next job comes in. And that, for me, is resilience.
What advice would you give to that young Artful Dodger?
Can you repeat that? I couldn't quite hear you.
What advice would you give to that young Artful Dodger?
Oh, what a great question. Jesus Christ. That's an interesting question, isn't it? What advice would I give him? Give me a second for that, because I don't want it to be flippant, a flippant answer. Don't be afraid to move. Don't be afraid to change. Don't stay in the same place for too long. That's what I'd say to him. Be brave, make changes. Actors, I'm very lucky. I've had brilliant agents, over the years. But I've always sort of slightly stayed too long. I hunker down. I don't break out of my comfort zone. That's what I'd say to him. Don't be afraid to break out of your comfort zone. Go into stretch, because that's when the adventure starts. There you go. How about that?
Fantastic response. Thank you so much for joining us today, Paul. But before you go, I
Pleasure.
ask everyone this. Have you got a book or a resource recommendation?
Definitely. Wait there a second. Hang on a second.
Got props
I've
as
got
well.
2 books that I want to show you. Hang on a minute. Where are they? This one and wait a minute. Where is it? Hey, here we go. Right. Sorry, I should have got
Grand
the
reveal.
first. Right. Grand reveal. Winning Body Language. Mark Bowden. Brilliant.
Okay,
If
yeah,
you don't know Mark, he's the #1 body language expert in the world.
I
And
do. I have
this
seen
book,
Mark. Yeah,
he's a brilliant talker. But this book is full of fantastic advice in how to help people trust you. Yeah, that one. And then how to network your way to success. This is by a brilliant author. Actually, the foreword is by Mark Bowden, by a guy called Paul Ryan. Me.
never heard of him.
Yeah. It's listen. There's some of this stuff that's a bit out of date now, but there's an awful lot in there that would help you if you want to get up and give a really brilliant 60-second pitch. So those are my 2 suggestions.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us today, Paul. Cheers.
All right, great. Thanks very much for having me, and I'll see you soon. All the
Thank
best.
you.
Bye bye.